Are you trying to figure out what is going on with the housing market so that you can invest your money wisely? Today, we are going to jump into a big change made by the government that is actually going to affect both inventory and pricing. We're going to jump into it here in just a second. If you're new to the show, his name is Nate Armstrong. He's the CEO and founder of Home Invest. We are an Inc. 500 real estate investment company. Between the two of us, we've got more than 45 years of experience, more than 2,500 deals done. We know a little bit about real estate and making money passively through great investments. We follow the principle of Matthew 25, which is be a great steward of your money. Use the tools that God has given you, the discernment to make good investments. And today we are going to be talking about this big change. The government steps in. It seems like they always do things that get the ball moving in one direction. They're like, oh, no, we went too far. We have to go back. The thing that we're talking about, we started seeing foreclosures go up like crazy over the last 3 to 4 months, Nate. We've seen them go 10x, and now they're pulling back a little bit. What's this big change that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, the big change is really because we're entering an election cycle and they don't want the current administration to look bad. So the Biden administration got together with the VA and they enacted a old law that was passed for COVID, the emergency COVID moratorium on foreclosures. They pulled that off the shelf and they're applying it to today's VA mortgages. So what does that mean in plain English? My 9-year-old son would appreciate if I say it this way. He would say that you can't foreclose on somebody if they're a VA loan, period. Now, the VA doesn't own the loans. The VA services the loans, but the VA backs them through a government guarantee. So what that means is that the insurance company is the government here. If these loans go south, the government has to step in and reimburse them. So what they've done is they're calling all of the folks that actually own the loans, Bank of America, US Bank, all the big ones, and they're saying, hey, look, we understand that you hold this loan. We're pulling out this emergency order. It was passed originally during the COVID era, and we're not going to allow you to foreclose on anybody. Instead, we want you to renegotiate terms, and we got your back. Any financial shortfalls, we'll take care of that as long as you renegotiate the loan with the occupant of the house. So essentially, it's kind of a Band-Aid. Now, I don't want to sound callous when I say this. I want to speak very much truthful. I'm all for taking care of our vets, 100%. What I'm not for is when the government meddles in the market. Whenever the government meddles, just like Steve was saying, they tend to push things too far. And unfortunately, this is one that I think that they're going to stretch out. I really believe that they're starting with VA loans to get a win in the VA community and make it sound nice, but they're probably going to stretch it across all FHA mortgages. That's all government-backed loans. And unfortunately, the folks that have to pay for the shortfall are taxpayers. So that's where I get a little bit ticked off, I guess.
Well, I was going to say that, we're going to get into what this means for investors, but let's just talk about what this means for America. If they're stepping in and they're saying, okay, all VA loans, you can go back, and the banks, I'm wondering what kind of guidelines they're putting around for the banks to renegotiate. Because let's say the house payment's $1,000 a month and the person says, oh, I can't pay anything. We have to be able to pay something. Okay, I can pay 500. Well, okay, so does the bank just extend the term of the loan? Are they going to change the interest rate? What are the guidelines there that are going to actually ensure that it gets paid? Because you're right, this is all going to get passed along to taxpayers and I do want to take care of all of our vets. It's always tricky to me when the government gets involved in regulation or in looking at things, because there's all kinds of red tape all of a sudden introduced. Not that I want any vet to lose their house, but the vet loans aren't flexible rate mortgages, as far as I know, are they?
No, they're typically long-term 30-year fixed mortgages.
Yeah, 30 year. I thought they were all 30-year fixed. If they're 30-year fixed, if anything, they should be locked in, especially pre-COVID, at a great interest rate, at a low payment. I don't want anyone to get foreclosed on, but I am wondering how the government is going to work that out. And I'm sure the banks are asking the same questions. The banks are probably like, hey, what
Yeah, this is hot off the press. Literally just happened, just announced it. So I'm sure there's a lot of details being circulated right now that we'll get in the coming weeks. During COVID, when they passed the moratorium on all foreclosures. We purchased one property from a seller here in our office, and that seller showed us his paperwork. His paperwork from the bank literally said he didn't have to make any payments, and that all of the payments that he missed will just be stacked on to the back of the loan, meaning someday down the road he would have to repay that plus some penalties and interest and all that kind of stuff. But for a certain duration of time, he wouldn't have to make any payments. And so I don't know exactly what the VA moratorium on foreclosures is going to read. If it's anything like what was passed during the COVID era, if it's something like that, then we could see just delayed payments. We could see restructuring of loans. We don't really know yet, but there's more to come. Either way, it is the government meddling, and whoever has to pay the piper, meaning whoever has to cover the missed payments while they're being missed. I'm pretty sure it's going to end up on taxpayers. I'm quite certain that's what happened during COVID. I'm quite certain that the lenders are not just going to sit still and say, oh yeah, we're going to fork out all these expenses and not collect anything. They're going to be demanding money, and that's going to have to come from the government, which comes from taxes.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It is because we are going into an election year. Biden's going to do whatever he can to grab those votes. So makes sense. What does this like? If you are an investor, then how would you think this would affect your investment strategy? And is there a way we should be, should we be trying to owner finance some of these deals? Because my question is if they can renegotiate, like, how does that benefit us?
Oh yeah, great question, Steve. So that property that we bought, we actually took it over on owner financing. When I started reading all of his loan docs and what they had done during COVID, I literally read that no payments were due for like some period of time, 14 or 18 months, something like that. So we could have just not paid. We ended up paying anyways because we thought it was the right thing to do. But as an investor, if you were talking with a seller that has a loan that's going into renegotiation or restructuring, I would try to buy that property subject to the existing financing. I wouldn't literally do a subject to contract. We always do wraparound mortgages or some similar version of that here, but I would try to find out what the existing mortgage was, what the restructuring was that they were offering, and I would try to take over that existing loan in place. I'd buy the real estate with the loan in place. I would not go get new financing.
Yeah, I think 100% I lean in on that one. If you're an investor and you're looking what was happening in the market, right? These foreclosures were coming on, which is ballooning inventory, which is pushing pricing down. The other thing that's pushing pricing down is the high interest rates. We're expecting interest rates as of right now to probably get one more bump after the new year. It's all crystal ball talk. Nobody knows for sure, but that's betting money says that they're going to bump it one more time. So I think the government is trying to say okay, maybe we can pull back a little bit of the inventory because we don't want it to be a huge flood, and they're trying to balance it. But I think it's such a tedious balancing act. Is there anything that investors should be looking for when it comes to the foreclosure market in general right now?
So the average homeowner is not protected by at least this current order. So there are a lot of average homeowners that have an FHA mortgage or maybe a conventional mortgage that they're going through the foreclosure process right now. So there's still properties out there that an investor like you or me or whoever's listening can go out there and buy. Maybe you can redeem it. Maybe you can save the seller from having a foreclosure on their record altogether. There's still properties out there that can be had. So I'd be going after those. Additionally, on the backside of when the bank actually takes possession of those foreclosures, it's sometimes you can get some really good deals when you buy directly from the bank, a foreclosed property, because they usually need a little bit of work. So I'd be watching those. Just watch the market, see what it's like in your area. We have one client, Karen. Steve, you know Karen. So Karen's like giddy right now because the foreclosures, they've literally tripled in the last year in her area. And so she's going after them hot and heavy, trying to buy as many as she possibly can. So I would keep watching them. As it currently stands, they have not put a moratorium on all mortgages, It's just VA mortgages at this moment.
All right. So we will keep an eye on that. We will update you. If you are looking for a great investment and you would like us to manage it for you, if you want to invest passively, Nate, myself, and the team at Home Invest do several apartment buildings every single year. Our current offering is 166 unit in Lexington. It is probably going to be closed by the time you hear this. We're probably closing it out in the next week. But if you are looking for a great return on your money, we usually offer up to a 16 to 18% internal rate of return, plus a 1.8x multiple where you put $100,000 in. And our goal is to get you $180,000 in 3 to 5 years. If you'd like to learn about our current offering, as well as the amazing tax benefits that we can offer you through investing with us, go to homeinvest.com. You can learn about our past deals, our current deals, and book a call with us there. Until next time, be great stewards of what God has given you. Check out what is going on with the VA loans in your area, and we will see you here on Purpose Driven Passive Profits.